Welcome to Fight Night on talkSPORT with me, John Rawling, and three-weights world champion Duke McKenzie. We've got a huge 2.5 hours ahead as we build towards one of the most heated rivalries in British boxing. Conor Benn against Chris Eubank Jr. Dave the White Rhino Allen's joining the undercard, and we'll be asking what's next for some of the biggest names in world boxing. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, all that and plenty more, because this is Fight Night on talkSPORT. Oh, very good evening to you, Duke. How are you?
John, I'm good, thanks.
Good.
Excellent.
Ready
good to see you.
Ready to give it some serious chat?
Yeah, let's go, mate.
Right.
I'm ready when you are.
Well, let's start off talking heavyweights, because in the last couple of days, we've heard that Fraser Clark and Jamie TKV will fight for the British heavyweight title on the 25th of October, live on BBC Two and iPlayer at the Valent Arena in Derby. Headline bout this is, and it's the new partnership between BBC Sport and the promoter Boxer. Olympic bronze medalist Clark's won 9 pro bouts with 1 draw and 1 defeat. TKV has won 8 of his 10 fights. So first off, Duke, what do you think of this as a heavyweight contest?
Decent matchup. It's not a given for either of them. TKV a bit up for it because he knows that he'll probably think to himself that Fraser Clark's a little bit fragile, given the fact that he's had his face reconstructed after that terrible knockout by Fabio Wardley. But it's a good fight. It's a good trade fight.
A good trade fight. Now, it's on the same night as, it's the 25th, isn't it? The same night as Joseph Parker against Fabio Wardley. And I don't think that Frank Warren's exactly been ecstatic about the fact that it's on the same night as his big event there.
Nah, it's probably one of them sad, unfortunate incidents. I don't think anybody's actually checked their date, their calendar. It's not been done deliberately, but unfortunately, it does clash with a Frank Warren date. I'm old enough to remember that Frank Warren used to do this on quite a regular basis when Mickey Duff used to have shows. There were several nights where Mickey Duff would stage his show at the Royal Albert Hall and Frank Warren might have staged his show at the Bloomsbury Crest Hotel or something like that where he was promoting. It has happened before. It's just one of them sad, unfortunate incidents.
You're not suggesting that what goes round comes around?
Well, just a little bit, mate, yeah. These things happen, don't they? Like I say, But, I mean, listen, nobody's going to lose out, I don't think. It's great for the boxing fan because, they can watch one fight and then switch over to the other channel and watch the other fight. Yeah,
I mean, people who know their boxing, they know that Parker versus Wardley is a really good fight. And if they can nick the one on BBC free to view first off, then they can switch over and watch what many would say would be the bigger heavyweight battle of the night in Parker and Wardley.
That's such a good fight, and it's a fight I'll be tuned into and watching. Wardley and Parker. It's a good fight. Going to be plenty of fireworks. You're going to get plenty of drama in that fight because they both come to fight. And, we're looking forward to it.
Going to be a knockout, isn't it?
100%. Someone's getting chinned. The smart money has to be on Parker because he's more seasoned, more, I dare say, more skillful. I think Fabio Wardley got probably quite badly exposed in his last fight.
Against Hustis, the Australian.
Yeah, against Hustis. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, I pronounced his name wrong earlier, didn't I, mate?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. But he got exposed. He lacks basic boxing skill. He's a massive puncher, as we all know. But you can't always be reliant on your big punch to win you a fight over 12 rounds. It's a 12-round duration. I think he got really lucky in his last fight, and he knows that. He might not be so lucky this time. And Parker's too smart, I think. He won't be able to walk Parker onto the shot that he did in his last fight. Parker's a good all-rounder. He's boxing well right now. He's full of confidence. Got a new coach. Ticks all the boxes for me.
What's your thoughts about big-time boxing seemingly going back onto the BBC? Getting this on BBC Two on a big, good prime time slot. How important is it to boxing that this has now actually happened?
It's massively important to the sport of boxing. It will help it to grow. It will give it a fresh set of eyes. It will bring a whole new audience to the sport of boxing who don't want to particularly pay for a pay-per-view. It's the kind of fight where, you're not going to be let down as a fan. Once you turn your TV on, I'm sure the fans are going to be glued to that television station. A, it's free. B, they're going to get they're going to get a good fight. I mean, if I remember rightly, John, that's where we started out on the BB, you and I, many, many, many moons ago.
Well, it's where you started out boxing, isn't it? On Sports Night with Coleman on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the big boxing date during the week when Mickey Duff brought it from either Wembley or Jarvis Auster, bringing it down from the Royal Albert Hall. But that was where it was established at that time. Yeah,
I won my first world title actually on the BBC, 1988, in defeating Rolando Belhol for the IBF Flyweight Championship of the world. That was a BBC fight. But it's nice to look back at a bit of nostalgia and reminisce. But like I say, this new take on boxing on the BBC is going to be great for the fan.
Well, let's hope that it's sort of a long-term investment and a long-term agreement. Let's hope that it keeps in there, because there have been false dawns before, haven't there, on coverage of professional boxing in this country, and BBC have tipped their toes in and sort of supposedly shown interest, and then it's gone cold. But this time, it appears, anyway, that they're in there for real.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, like I say, they've got to. I mean, they have to dip their toe in the water and see what the response is in terms of viewing figures, but I'm sure they won't be disappointed.
No, well, I think it's fairly self-evident, isn't it? Whenever there's any boxing whatsoever goes on a terrestrial channel. I mean, you and I were together on ITV a few years back. I mean, we got some colossal numbers there when you think that back. There was Derek Williams and Audley Harrison, 8.5 million or something. It's unbelievable when you think back. But that's the numbers that there were.
Yeah, sure. So let's just hope we get, that and more for these new shows that are going to be coming on by Benn Shalom. I wish him all the best. I hope he does really, really well with it. Yeah,
the only argument, I guess, though, that is whether or not there should be a greater overall governing body. Maybe it's something the British Boxing Board of Control should get involved in, making sure that there aren't major clashes on the same night. Where do you reckon that they would stand on that?
Oh, it's a tough one, really. I mean, like I said, I don't think this has been done deliberately. Nobody's trying to upset anybody else's apple cart. It's just the way it's worked out. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
I'd agree with that one. There's another decent-looking heavyweight fight coming up before too long as well. 2 weeks today at the Sheffield Arena. It's going to be Dave Allen back in the big time, fighting Arslanbek Makhmudov, huge Canadian-based Russian. And that's an interesting one, because Dave's on a bit of a roll, isn't he? And if he could get some results there, they're talking about him moving on and getting in some really big money fights.
Well, I mean, they're talking about him potentially fighting Deontay Wilder as a future. I'm not going to say an opponent, because he's a former world champion, Deontay Wilder, and that's a whole new concept for Dave. I mean, obviously he's got to get past this Makhmudov first, who's 6'6". He's an absolute mountain of a man. He's huge, and probably stylistically, his style is probably all wrong for Dave Allen.
He's sparred big guys, though, hasn't he, Dave? He's been in with.
His game is a pebble. Don't get me wrong. Dave Allen he's the people's champion. That's the way I describe him.
And he's training now and working well with Jamie Moore, getting himself into shape, and possibly is at last approaching his sport with the discipline and the professionalism he should have done years ago.
Well, I mean, listen, he got that excellent victory over Johnny Fisher, which would do great for his confidence. Whether or not Johnny Fisher was overrated, I mean, the proof will be in the pudding when he makes his return to the ring and we see where he goes from here. But Dave Allen right now is in a good place, not only mentally, but physically. Like I say, he got a new coach. His confidence is right up. He knows that if he can win this next fight, potentially he could get a huge payday and a huge bit of exposure in the fight after this. But I don't know how well he's going to be able to keep his eyes on the immediate prize. If you start looking at the fight after this one, which again could be potentially bigger than this one, that could be the stumbling block for him. But, we'll have to wait and see.
You can tell him precisely that because he's coming on. He's our next guest.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's all right. No,
he's coming on after the break.
I'll tell him, John. Don't worry about it.
Well, you can tell him. The old white rhino, Dave Allen, always a popular figure. He's going to be joining us next on Fight Night here on talkSPORT. Welcome back. You're listening to Fight Night with me, John Rawling, and three-weight world champion Duke McKenzie. And we're talking heavyweights right now because joining us on the line, the ever-popular White Rhino of Doncaster, Dave Allen. Good evening, Dave.
Hello, John. How you doing, mate?
I'm very well. How are you, more to the point, because you're getting closer to this big fight at the Sheffield Arena on the 11th of October against the huge Russian Arslanbek Makhmudov. And we've learned today that we are going to be bringing commentary on your fight to talkSPORT listeners. Which has
the GBM show now. Just been watching the boxing. So yeah, preparation's gone great, and it's only 2 weeks away. You know, time just flies by when you're in camp. It's hard work, but this is probably the best camp I've ever done. Really, I've done everything right. You know, I've probably had 2 Twixes in 10 weeks. That's probably the only thing I've done wrong. Usually I usually have 2 a day at least. It's not bad.
So many people speak very positively about the ability, the boxing ability, and that sheer nous that Jamie Moore brings to his fighters. And I think when I was talking to Duke earlier on, Dave, we were saying, you know, he's got to be good for you working in that sort of environment. Hey, Duke?
He's hi, Dave. How you doing, mate? I'm not sure if you can hear me, but you know,
Mate, all right.
Yeah, good, thanks, champ. Yeah, how's your prep going for the big one? How do you prepare for a guy that's 6'6"? You know, because you haven't boxed anybody that kind of size before, I would imagine. And you know, you're both obviously you're the people's champion. Everybody loves you, mate. So you know, everybody wants you to win. Everybody expects you to win. This is like a newfound fame for you. How do you handle that kind of pressure?
Yeah, it's just another. Every day is just the same for me. Nothing was expected of me. You know, I don't get carried away. I'm well aware of what I am. I know what I am. I'm a good fighter. I don't think I'm a great fighter. But while I'm a good fighter, I have decent skills. I'm tough, strong, can punch a little bit. But the best thing about me is I know my level. I know what I can do. I know what I can't do. And that's why I can beat this man, because I know what I am. I know what I can do. And I also know what I can't do. So I can beat this fella. You know, if I stick to my strengths, I can beat him. So I think that's what can get me to the next level. Really, you know, it's not that I'm a super talent. It's that I know what works for me. I know what I can and can't do, and I stick to that. And I've been having success the last couple of fights in doing that.
I'm sure that the fight public will be there for Dave as usual. Duke, there's going to be a good atmosphere up there in Sheffield. It'll
be raucous, won't it? You know, because everybody wants this man to win. He's like, you know, if he can beat this kid, then could you imagine if he gets a fight with Deontay Wilder? Because that's the one they're talking about potentially as a future. No, I can't call him an opponent because he's a former world champion. But you know, Dave's life could probably it's going from rags to riches. You know?
Dave, you must have to be so careful, though, when Eddie Hearn starts throwing names like Deontay Wilder into interviews. You've got to be so careful that you keep your eye on what's actually coming up and this fight against this huge Russian.
Yeah, I've been here before. I've had this experience before. When I boxed David Price, I agreed to fight Alexander Povetkin only about 8 weeks after the Price fight. I already agreed it. So I hear talks of Wilder, but I'm not really interested. I've got to beat Makhmudov. This is my world title fight, really. If I beat Makhmudov, it's a career best win. It set me up for a fight that'll set me up for the rest of my life. But the Makhmudov fight is everything to me. You know, it's everything. If I beat him, people will have to respect me. They'll have to say I'm a good fighter. He's a good fighter. He's probably top 25, top 30 in the world. I've never been at this level before. I mean, I've been at this level and been beat every single time. So yeah, this is the one. I'm not interested in what people say. I know the score. A lot of people keep telling me you're going to win this fight. It's easy. You'll win it. I know the crack. I know the score. I've been around a long time now, so I'm confident in getting the job done. But I know the size of the task at hand, so I'm not looking past this one.
No, he's a massive task, isn't he? What sort of plans are they, without giving too much away? What sort of plans are you drawing up in the gym to cope with a guy of his sheer physical dimensions?
You know, we looked at the Caballel fight. That looks with the blueprint. People keep saying, "Look at Caballel." I'm not Caballero. I don't move as good. Probably not as athletic. Then you look at Vianello who beat him. I'm definitely not that athletic. I'm not that fast. So it's all right looking at other people that I beat. But I'm not Caballero. I'm not Vianello. I'm Dave Allen. So we have a game plan. We have a game plan or 2 or 3. You know, we could try box him. You know, we can come and try and fight him. I know when the bell goes, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my hands up. I'm going to try and walk him back. I'm going to take him a few rounds. And I'm not going nowhere. You know, I'm not going to go anywhere. So it'd be interesting. I'm not really bothered how hard he is. Power, strength, all them attributes that other people against me face, they don't really worry me because that's fine. I can handle that. It's usually speed that worries me and skill. So we'll see. I think I've got the beating of him, to be honest. But it's not going to be easy.
There's going to be a real big buzz up there in Sheffield, isn't there, Duke? You know, I mean, it's one which, irrespective of whether or not I was commentating on it, I mean, we now know that this is going to be going out live on talkSPORT on the night. But, you know, if I wasn't working, it's one I would definitely want to see because Dave is one of those fighters who you want to watch.
Yeah, he's exciting, isn't he? He wants to fight. He's one of these honest pros that don't really get too many of them, if you know what I mean, John. It's just he is exactly what he says he is. He doesn't try to be anything that he's not, but hopefully he's made enough improvement with his new coach where he can just jog on a little bit and get a little bit further up the ladder. Like you say, he might have been in and around this part before and failed at that hurdle, but now he's got like a new lease of life.
All your mates are going to be there, aren't they, Dave? There'll be a lot turning out.
Yeah, we're expecting. I think it was the biggest sellout in Sheffield Arena for probably 15 years. I think since Kelber up Matthew Hatton. I think it's going to outsell everything since then. You know, it's going to be the biggest sell of the last 15 years in Sheffield. And I remember meeting you at Sheffield Arena when I boxed on the Amir Khan undercard 12 years ago. And I would have never dreamed headlining Sheffield Arena. I'm just a kid from Doncaster. I had 10 amateur fights. You know, I just started boxing. Just it was either the boxing or the few different paths I could have gone down. But I said, you know what, I'm going to do the boxing and. Yeah, I never dreamt of headlining Sheffield Arena, but it will be 10,000 full, and I can't guarantee anything other than my best. That's all I can promise you. So we'll have to see if it's good enough.
That's the most anybody can hope for, Dave. All the best for the night, and I look forward to seeing you there. And it's going to be good to see you up there as a headline act. That's Dave Allen going to be having, as he says, probably the biggest fight of his life against Arslanbek Makhmudov. That's coming up at the Sheffield Arena on the 11th of October, and you can hear it live with us here on talkSPORT. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be quite a night. Anyway, let's head to New York for the moment now and get an update on the Ryder Cup. Should be good news. Here's Sean O'Brien.
It is indeed. Europe 10.5, USA 3.5. 2 more points for the Europeans, and the Ryder Cup is all but theirs already. There's more tension here in New York as well, and not from the fans this time. The players and the caddies were getting involved. Justin Rose had to tell Bryson DeChambeau's caddy in no uncertain terms to get out of his wheelhouse on the 16th green. Rose and DeChambeau then both make their putts, and DeChambeau starts a big row with Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, the caddies, spills onto the 16th tee. It was actually quite reminiscent of Rory McIlroy and Patrick Cantlay's caddy Joe LaCava in Rome 2 years ago. You can get more on that over on talksport.com. But in terms of the golf, Europe won that match, and then Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry won the top match as well. So there's 2 matches left on the golf course. Europe lead 1, the other is all square, and it looks like Europe could have the biggest ever lead going into the final day of a Ryder Cup since 1979. This is not even close. Europe need 3.5 points to retain the Ryder Cup. Here in New York, on American soil, it's Europe 10.5, USA 3.5.
Ryder Cup update on talkSPORT with Arnold Clark. Get the UK's best used car deals, guaranteed.
Corinthian Casuals are a team in the Combined Counties League Premier Division South. Despite that, they're one of the most important clubs in world football. Here's why. The club was formed in 1939 as the result of a merger between Corinthians FC and Casuals FC. Now, Corinthians FC were founded in the late 1800s when the FA's top brass were sick of getting pumped by Scotland every time they played them. As a result, a man called Nicholas Lane Jackson set up an amateur side which would bring in the best players who could all play for the national side. And it worked. It wasn't long before England were dominating the international fixtures they played, and it was largely down to Corinthians. In fact, in 1894 and 1895, they played consecutive games where Corinthians provided the entire England 11. But the thing is, the players refused to play professional football. They didn't believe in it. They wanted to spread the values of sportsmanship, competition, and played for the love of the game. It also helped that most of the players were Oxbridge graduates who didn't need the money. But instead of entering the league and cup competitions, they played exhibition football and toured the world, bringing the beautiful game with them. And it was this which spread the game throughout the world and made it so popular. Most famously, in 1910, they travelled to Brazil. And the locals in Sao Paulo were so impressed, they started their own team under the same name. Yes, the same Corinthians who won the FIFA Club World Cup in 2021, one of the biggest football teams in Brazil. Now, they were global superstars, and despite not being professional, Corinthians drew in the crowds. Everybody wanted to play them, everybody wanted to watch them. So much so, they regularly played the winners of the FA Cup in what eventually became the Community Shield, winning most of the time. They actually inflicted Manchester United's worst defeat, 11-3, a record which still stands to this day. Now, fast forward to today, Corinthian Casuals still don't pay their staff or players. The ethos of sportsmanship is still at the heart of everything that they do. And even though they're a side in the lower leagues, if you make the trip to King George's Field in Tolworth just off the A3, you'll most likely bump into Brazilian Corinthians fans who often make the pilgrimage across the globe just to watch their founding team play.
This is Fight Night on talkSPORT with me, John Rawling, and Duke McKenzie tonight. All the big topics of boxing this week, and next we're going to be moving on to Eubank against Benn, the rematch, which is at the Tottenham Stadium on November the 15th. And what an undercard we've had lined up, which we're going to be talking about now, Duke. Some good ones there. Jack Catterall's in action. He's going to be fighting Eko Esserman, who had that fantastic win against Josh Taylor in his last fight. Adam Azim's in action, Richard Riakporhe, Sam Gilly. There are some good fighters there.
There are some good ones on there, John, and obviously the pick of the crop for me has to be Catterall, Esserman. It's a good fight, and, you know, I just hope for Catterall's sake he brings his A game, because we know what Esserman is all about. You know, that kid, he's got an engine like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Esserman as a fighter. I mean, he's a really nice lad.
Yeah.
And he is, as you say, engine. He just keeps going and going and some.
Yeah, I don't know. They should have nicknamed him Ever Ready, because that's how he goes. He just keeps going on, and he gets better as the rounds go on. So, like I say, I like Catterall, and, you know, he hasn't been producing the goods of late. He's changed camp now. You know, we just hope he's had that new lease of life. He's got a new vigour about his work, and I hope he pulls it off. But, you know, they could have picked him an easier fight for his comeback fight. This isn't an easy fight.
Yeah, just briefly. I mean, I don't want to go into this too deeply, but when a fighter moves away from his long-time trainer as Jack Catterall has prior to this. You know, I mean, is there really advantage to be gained, or is he just looking for excuses in less than top-class performances?
Yep. On a personal level, I never did it. I had the same coach from start to finish, all my British, European and world titles. Even when the things weren't going right, I didn't get rid of my coach. It's just not the done thing. That's just me personally. But what he's obviously looking for is a new lease of life. He's obviously says to himself, you know what, I've gone as far as I can go with my coach. I'm not getting that same buzz from him anymore. I need to change my whole sort of outlook on where I'm going and what I can actually deliver. Now, the proof's going to be in the pudding in his next fight. Like I say, they could have picked him an easier fight. This fight will be just as hard as his last fight. I promise you that.
Well, I'd ask what's called Josh Taylor.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Echo did a pretty good winning number on him, didn't he?
Yeah, he done a proper number on him. And obviously...
And in Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, Azim, he's listen, this is his world title fight. That's how he's going to approach it. So he's going to be absolutely bang up for it. And like I say, I hope Catterall has got something left in the tank because he's going to need it.
Adam Azim, he's going to be coming out soon. He's undefeated to this point, but he's now, what is he, 23? Is he reaching the stage now where Adam's going to be, he's got to be looking at his career and saying he's had 13 fights, is it now, undefeated, but he's got to kick on?
Oh, he's absolutely got to kick on. Again, I can only make a point of reference. 13 fights into my career, I was European champion. So, you know, he should be at least sort of knocking on for major honours. Do you see what I mean? Something of some sort of, you know, something that's actually worth something. A title that actually worth something, not an intercontinental, pentacontinental. That doesn't mean nothing in the bigger picture. It really doesn't. He needs an established championship fight where he can call himself a champion of some description.
What about the main event? It's coming closer. Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. I mean, it was a lot better fight, I think, than many people, myself included, actually believed that it could be. It turned out to be a damn good fight, didn't it?
It was a decent fight. It was a decent fight. As an event, it was absolutely flawless. You know, you had a sold-out arena. Everybody that was there that night got their money's worth.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's no reason to suggest that that's not going to happen again. I think we're going to get the same result, but it's still a good fight.
You think you will get the same result? I think that we've seen the winner. You know, sometimes it's an old cliche, isn't it? I remember years ago when Ian Darke and I used to see rematches, you know, would sort of say, hey, you'd seen the fight. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be shocked if Eubank loses. I don't really see that happening. Again, he's fighting a career-best welterweight. He knows that. From a psychological perspective, when you know you've got a smaller guy in front of you, you kind of start 2 or 3 rounds up in your own mind. So, like I say, when you look at the fight, it wasn't close enough to warrant a win for Benn. He didn't win it. I made Eubank a comfortable winner, and I expect him to win again. I know he's going to struggle to make weight, and I really wish to God this fight wasn't happening just for that reason. Just for the fact that he struggles so badly to make that weight. However, the fight is going to happen, and I don't expect the result to be any different.
We all know the dangers of weight making, don't we? You know, seen it again and again. Mm-hmm. When I hear you talk like that about the dangers of this fight and how part of you wishes that you weren't seeing it again,
100%.
Does that mean that's kind of not too far down there? You're a bit fearful about what might happen, particularly for Eubank.
I don't even want to, you know, sometimes my mum taught me never to speak about certain things in life, death being one of them. Not scared of it, but I'm just saying, God forbid, what if the worst came to the worst and that boy got seriously hurt? There's no amount of money that can buy you health, John. And, you know, for the sake of making a weight that he clearly can't make anymore, you know, that he clearly struggles to make, should I say. You know, he absolutely, you know, we saw him in the sauna suit. We saw him boiling down. We saw him sweating out. We saw him not eating, not drinking, not eating, and, you know, just looking absolutely decimated at the weigh-in. And then obviously, all right, it's a 24-hour rehydration. Or have they cancelled that out?
No, I think there'll still be some rehydration clause there.
Well, that's his one sort of saving grace, that he can actually rehydrate somewhat. But there comes a point where when you've made that weight once or twice all of a sudden your body just doesn't react anymore, and you can't make that weight. What if Eubank doesn't make that weight? What happens then?
And he's 36, isn't he now?
Yeah, he's getting on. So it's going to be so hard for that boy to make the weight. And, for the sake of whatever money he's getting, let's just hope that he doesn't get hurt and both the fighters can go home safely to their families.
Well, I would certainly hope that, and you hope as well that it's going to be as good and polished a production as the first fight was, because being there in that stadium that night, that Tottenham Stadium is magnificent, isn't it? One of the finest in Europe. The infrastructure surrounding it, now that's another question. It has to be one of the hardly the easiest place to get to, nor indeed to get away from. But once you're in there, the quality of the presentation was fantastic, wasn't it? I don't think I've seen anything better anywhere.
No, like I say, the fight wasn't a letdown because it was a good fight. But as an event, you won't get a better event than that, and they'll have to go some actually to surpass that, or even equal that. Let's just hope they get the same turnout in terms of the numbers, people going through the live gate and watching that fight, because it was a great event. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. You won't get world title fights that actually are a better event. Do you see what I mean, John?
I know exactly what you mean, and I think it'll be very special once again. And, let's hope that it turns out to be just as glittering an occasion as the first one was, and that there are no huge worries from a physical point of view from what the two fighters are having to put into the contest. Now, talking of physical things and contests hotting up, it was all getting a little bit angry in New York last time we were there. The Ryder Cup continuing to heat up. Here's Sean O'Brien.
Yes, it is indeed. It's Europe 10.5, USA 3.5. Now, bear in mind, the Europeans have only won on American soil 4 times in their entire history, and they've got more than one hand on this Ryder Cup. They could, in fact, take the biggest ever lead into a Sunday at any Ryder Cup since 1979. The biggest lead, the previous biggest lead is 11-5, and there's 2 matches left on the golf course. They are currently both tied. JJ Spawn and Xander Schauffele looking to try and nick a red point from this session against John Rahm and Sepp Straka. They're both in close for birdie on 18, so that one could turn red. And then just up back on the 18th tee, Sam Burns and Patrick Cantlay are all square with Tyrrell Hatton and Matt Fitzpatrick. So the Americans playing for pride, really. If they can turn those 2 matches red, you would say that maybe a miracle would be on the cards. But as things stand, Europe still only need 3.5 points to retain the Ryder Cup. Remember, 28 points on offer. Europe, being the holders, only need 14 to retain. And as you mentioned, it has boiled over at times today. Shane Lowry and Rory McIlroy were subject to some outrageous abuse, really. They had to stop the match a couple of times. State police had to basically escort them around the course. And then in slightly unrelated scenes, in the match between Bryson DeChambeau and Scotty Scheffler and Justin Rose and Tommy Fleetwood, there was a bit of a row that broke out there. Even the caddies were involved. You can read all of that over on talkSPORT.com, the website, all over it. But here in New York, it's Europe 10.5, USA 3.5, and the last 2 matches are all square on the 18th.
Ryder Cup update on talkSPORT with Arnold Clark. Get the UK's best used car deals, guaranteed.
listening to Fight Night on talkSPORT with me, John Rawling, alongside Duke McKenzie tonight. And we're going to be hearing from Lerone Richards shortly, back in competitive action after a fair absence. He'd been time out, came back, got the win he wanted. But I sometimes think, Duke, as a boxer, I mean, you just bring back memories for you. If you've been out of the ring for any reason, whether it be contractual disputes or whether or not you've been carrying injuries for one reason or another, fights have not come through, must be a sort of a difficult psychological test for you when you finally get back in.
It's very difficult, John, because all the time that you're out, obviously you want to fight, but the fights might not be happening, like I say, for whatever the reason. But you still got to live your life, you know. And if you're not living the life of a boxer, you know, going out, partying, whatever, put on some weight, then you got to start shifting that weight, and then time goes on, the weight actually gets harder to shift. So it's harder to stay concentrated and focused. So it'll be interesting to find out why he's been out for so long.
Well, let's have a listen and say good evening to Lerone. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Pleasure. Nice to see you both.
And you came in with a good win, a points win yesterday against Dylan Courtney, back in the ring. How long is it you were out before that fight?
15 months I was out the ring, so a long time I was out the ring. A few pullouts, a few, let's say, disruptions, but, you know, we move on, and I'm glad I got back under the lights yesterday. Followed the instructions, enjoyed myself, and I got the win, and now it's time to push on.
How happy were you with what you produced?
Well, you know, for me, I'm glad I got the rounds in. Obviously, it would be nice to get the guy out of there, but I showcased my skills. I listened to my coach, which was the most important thing. My team's happy. We got the 6 rounds under our belt, and now we're looking for bigger fights.
Duke's listening and hearing what you're saying, and I know there are one or two things he was going to ask you and pick up on.
Yeah, I mean, how you doing, champ? Okay?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
6 rounds. So what kept you out for so long? So you said, was it contractual difficulties, or you had an injury, or like I say, you had a couple of fights fall through? How disheartening was that for you? It's no fault of yours, obviously, if that was the case.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get too into it. You know, obviously, it weren't contractual or anything like that. It was more like health reasons for myself.
Okay.
Obviously, then I had a newborn child as well.
I'll say no more.
Family.
No, I know that one, John.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was out the ring for a while, but went back with Dave Coldwell. I was in the gym consistently, adding more to my arsenal, learning as much as I can, because, you know, as a fighter, you never stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
A few pullouts, which was frustrating at times, but I trust in the process, and obviously now had a good 6 rounds in the bank yesterday, and it's time to move on to bigger fights.
It's important, obviously, for you to get the fights, but as you've just said, you know, you're a new dad now, so.
Oh, well, I've got two. I've got two. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're old school with it then. I was going to say, because that's a game changer, brother. I promise you.
Yeah, you know, I love it. I love being a dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, boxing's my job, and that's how you put food on the table. So
yeah,
it's time to get to work now and get these big fights.
And your next fight, maybe when?
Well, you know, the thing with me, I've been. If you look at my career, you see, I've not been the most active. I've achieved a lot, I would say, but there's still so much more for me to achieve and accomplish in this sport.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've moved up to light heavyweight. The light heavyweight division is booming, especially in Great Britain,
mm-hmm.
and I'll be in the mix with them boys very, very soon.
So you get up there, you'll get out there again at light heavyweight. How much more comfortable do you feel at light heavyweight instead of having to boil down to super middle again and again?
Well, I was stubborn. I made super middleweight for way too long, and I paid the price. I lost. It was hard for me to make the weight for years, and now I've moved up. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be easy to make the weight. I'm a big guy. But it's a weight that I feel more stronger at, more comfortable at. and full of energy.
Duke says he thinks he might be ready for you. He's getting to be a bigger guy nowadays.
He's trying to get me knocked out. He's cheeky. He's cheeky, this one.
Yeah, careful what you said. You nearly used a bad word then, didn't you?
No,
for you, mate.
Yeah, I can't wait to get in the mix with the big boys. You know, people don't mention my name, obviously, because of my style. I break people down. Look, boxing's about skills. I understand it's an entertainment business, but when I'm in the bigger fights, you see how good I am, which you've seen in the past.
Indeed. You've had your good performances, and although what are you now? 34, are you?
I'm 33.
33. I do apologise, but I mean you've not got a lot of miles on the clock, have you? And to use a cliche, you know, you're still ready to go again, and you're still a relatively fresh fighter.
Yeah, I'm fresh. I'm enjoying boxing. I love boxing. I love the sweet science, and you know, this is a thing these days that people don't appreciate the sweet science of boxing. I feel the old school understand it, and I feel that's why I appreciate the way I box. But only the big fights are going to bring out the best in Lerone Richards, and they're the fights that I'm looking for right now.
I know you love watching top-class boxing, and a little bit later on, we're going to be talking more about Terence Crawford and his fantastic win against Canelo. I mean, I would imagine, I've not spoken to you about this until now, but I imagine that you really enjoyed watching what you were seeing there, didn't you?
Oh, I've loved Crawford for years. From when, even before he beat Ricky Burns, you know, I was a big fan of Terence Crawford. His IQ is unbelievable, and I've met him before, and as a person, he's a lovely man too.
Yeah, he comes across as a class act, doesn't he? Although, having said that, I thought Canelo came out of it with his head held high as well. There was no bad mouthing afterwards. It just goes to show that you can have the very best of contests like that without people threatening all sorts of blood-curdling intimidation beforehand, and they can just get on with it, have a fight, best against best, and still have masses of respect thereafter.
Absolutely, and you know, Canelo boxed really well that day as well. He just met a special fighter in Terence Crawford. He's very gifted, Crawford, very intelligent, and he just got beat by the better man.
I think he's up there with the best of all time, personally.
What he's just achieved, John, it's unquestionable. You know, he's a 3-time unified champion. That's all 4 belts, right? So he's an undisputed world champion. Now, to put that into some kind of context, if you think back to when there was only one champion, there was only 8 divisions, you only had one champion at each weight division. Sure, what he's achieved has been done before, but not in the modern 4-belt era. So you can either say to yourself, you know, weighing in on the day of a fight is an extremely hard thing to do. You weigh in on the day of the fight, and then you go and fight on the same day. But now with the rehydration clause, when world title fights, as it was in this case with Crawford and Canelo, he allowed Canelo to weigh in whatever weight he wanted to, right? So he's beaten Canelo absolutely at his best. And that performance that Canelo gave would have probably beaten just about any other boxer on the planet. It was a good performance, but he couldn't handle Crawford.
So you don't buy people who've said that, you know, that Crawford got him at the right time, that Canelo maybe isn't the fighter that he was?
No, I don't.
I think that was the best. I think that was the best Canelo.
No, I wouldn't be in total agreement with that, because Canelo's changed his style. He's more heavy-handed now. He doesn't move so much, but he's still a world-class operator, and he's still been the face of boxing, you know, for quite a number of years. But what Crawford did to him, and if you listen to what Crawford says after the fight, he says the fight, without being big-headed or condescending, he said the fight was easy. You know, when you're in camp and you're training for a major fight, and your camp goes smoothly, you got so much confidence from your camp. And going into that fight, he didn't have a care in the world. You know, he could have been anywhere, Crawford, but when he turned up, like I say, on fight night, it was beautiful to watch.
It was indeed. And I should imagine that watching a lad fighting like that, and being 4 years older than you, Lerone, when you look at somebody fighting like that, you sort of think, hey, I'd like a bit of that.
Yeah, do you know what? I've been watching these fighters for so long. Let's not forget the likes of Bernard Hopkins. He went on for years as well, and they just have so much ring craft, and they use their skills, and you know that brings you forward in the boxing ring. And it gives you longevity in the sport.
Lerone, all the best for your fights ahead. Stay fit, stay busy, and we look forward to seeing you back in a boxing ring again before too long. Now, it was all kicking off a little bit, one way or another, over in America at the golf. Arguments among the caddies, among the players, among the fans. We'll go back there now as day 2 comes to an end in the Ryder Cup. Here's Sean O'Brien.
Yes, and none of that really matters anymore because it's not even Sunday and this Ryder Cup is over. Europe 11.5, USA 4.5. This is the biggest lead in Ryder Cup history going into Sunday since it has been contested between the USA and Europe, going back to 1979. It's not the biggest lead from an away team, it's the biggest lead from any team ever. And winning a Ryder Cups is meant to be really difficult. It is really difficult. It's only been done once in the last 21 years. But Europe have come out and won all 4 sessions on Friday and Saturday. They take this afternoon session 3-1, despite getting all sorts of abuse from the American crowd. And Keegan Bradley, the US captain, is on our screens now. Looked quite emotional earlier. You could hear the European fans who have actually travelled in quite big numbers chanting "sacked in the morning" at him. He's made some seriously questionable decisions over the past 2 days. And of course, Luke Donald, who was the victorious captain in Rome 2 years ago, just comes across as the most prepared man in the world. Nothing has surprised Europe this week. They lead 11.5, 4.5 going into Sunday. And with 12 points on offer in the singles matches, they only need 2.5 of them to retain the Ryder Cup.
Ryder Cup update on talkSPORT with Arnold Clark Charge. Ultra rapid EV charging at an ultra low price. Terms apply.
It's fight night here on talkSPORT. I'm John Rawling tonight alongside Duke McKenzie, a world champion at 3 weights in years gone by. You don't mind hearing that, do you? After
I quite like it, John.
Yeah, well,
I quite like it. It's a nice touch, and thanks, mate.
Well, you were pretty good. I was there when you did it. Anyway, let's talk about then, but let's also talk about now, because when you look out across the British fight scene, Nick Bull, WBA featherweight champion, the Liverpudlian, he is Britain's only male world champion right now. How concerned are you about that?
It has to be some kind of a concern. Obviously, we've got some good fighters. We've had some good fighters of years gone by, and but he's our only reigning world champion, and a good champion at that. Solid fighter, Nick Bull. Still think there's more to come from him, though.
Well, does he want anything to do with Inui? They keep talking about it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it would be a huge fight. It would be a fight that you would have to go with Inoue, because that guy is something different. I think he's probably on par, for me, with Crawford in terms of skill and ability. And look, if you look at what he's achieved, Inoue, hasn't even looked like slipping. So, you know, I don't know. My money would be on Inoue if they did fight. But a lot would depend on where they fought, because, you know, Inoue doesn't really travel. He doesn't, you know, it's not like he gets on the road and is defending his world title abroad. They're all pretty much in his backyard. Would Nick Bull have to go to his backyard, or would Inoue come to Nick Bull's backyard?
And how big a fight actually is it? Because, you know, I mean, you and I can sit here now and say, yeah, Ball against Inoue, big fight. Could happen at some stage, if not this year, next year. There's no reason why that couldn't be made. But, you know, you walk down one of the big London, you walk down Regent Street and talk to people and say, Ball against Inoue, what do you think?
I see where you're going with that now, John. Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, he's not what you call a household name, is he, Nick Bull? You know, obviously they have to work on raising his profile. He's exciting enough to watch.
Huge in Liverpool.
Yeah. But take him outside Liverpool, as you've just said, nobody really knows him. He's not world known. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, that takes longevity, and that's, you know, I don't know if he's got that kind of time on his hands. His style isn't made for a long career. His style is made for a short career because he's so explosive. So that guy he's got to cash in quick, and I mean real quick.
And are there big names coming through behind who are potential world champions in in months, years to come? There are some good fighters up in Liverpool. He's got some good gym mates at the Everton Red Triangle.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, when we start talking about world titles and one thing or another, I don't see anybody. No, listen, nobody's ticked any boxes for me. No young fighters have ticked any boxes for me right now that could be potential world champions. Obviously, everybody's got a dream and a goal that they think they can do this and that, but only time tells. You know, you got to be schooled a certain way to call yourself a world class fighter. Just because you win an intercontinental or pentacontinental doesn't make you world class. I know people are going to think I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but I still believe, you know, the old school way is the best way. You know, British Championship, European title, you know, possibly some international fights, and then onto the world scene. But, fighters today think they can win something and then just they call themselves world class. They step up into world class and then they get knocked out and they want to know why. Because they haven't had the right schooling and the right education. Everything takes time. Frank Warren's pretty good at steering fighters, grooming fighters. He knows what he's doing with fighters. And I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying, where fighters are concerned, sometimes they try to run before they can walk.
Yeah, you sort of look at the fighters of years gone by. There was a lot of talk on online this week about who's our best. And the argument really boiled down to either Joe Calzaghe or Lennox Lewis, and one or two, just sort of sneaking in with a few suggestions of Nazim Hamad. I think somebody actually even said Duke McKenzie.
Yeah, that was probably you, mate. I'll give you that money.
No, but
I'll give you that 50 quid later.
The point I was going to make, if you look at Joe Calzaghe, brilliant though he was, and he was terrific.
Sure.
He himself came up through the traditional route, didn't he? He was a former British champion, came up through the amateur ranks, and then went on to become a British champion.
Yeah, well, for me personally, and, I've been a world champion, John. I know what it is to win world titles in multiple weight divisions. For me personally, Calzaghe's number one.
Ahead of Lewis.
Ahead of Lewis. You can't beat an unbeaten record. He's a 2-division world champion. We were ringside, John, one night when he boxed, I think it was Byron Mitchell.
Yeah.
When he got decked, I think, for the first time.
He did.
When Calzaghe went down against that kid, he was pretty much out on his feet. He went down so heavily, but when he got up, he ruined that kid.
Absolutely mullered him, didn't he?
He destroyed him, John. I've never seen somebody throw so many punches after having been on the deck. So for me, not because of that victory, he's beaten Roy Jones, he's beaten Bernard Hopkins. Right, people might say he beat those guys when they were past the sell-by date. However, those guys still had Calzaghe on the deck. Even if they still had him over on the deck. Calzaghe still had to get up off the floor to win. That is more than just a champion's heart. Calzaghe had something that no other British fighters had, because when you look at everybody else's record, we're all flawed. I got beat. Lennox Lewis got beat. Frank Bruno got beat. Lloyd Hannigan got beat. You can go through a list of world champions. They've all got an O. They've all got losses on their record. Calzaghe's record stands alone. 46, is it 46-0?
Yeah.
46-0. 46 times he's gone to work, John, and 46 times that man's come home a winner. And that takes... It's not luck. You don't do that by luck. You have to be special. And I think Calzaghe, for me, is the greatest British boxer of all time.
And when you get these fighters come through, when you see somebody like that in front of you and you see the performances they produce. I mean, I never forget that night when we watched him beat
Jeff Lacy.
Yeah. I mean, Lacy came over, supposedly was going to be this, that and the other. And Joe absolutely did a number on him. And if he was sitting here now, I would have no sort of shyness whatsoever about praising him into the hilt. People would say, oh, look at him blowing smoke up his backside as usual. But that, it's recognising sheer talent when you have it in front of you. And Joe on that night was absolutely brilliant.
Well, John, we was ringside, as you said, and I picked Calzaghe before that fight to beat Lacy, because styles make fights. And I just figured that Calzaghe's style was absolutely tailor-made to beat Lacy because of his work rate and his work ethic. And while people were saying, Lacy came over with such a huge reputation, didn't he?
He did.
The next Mike Tyson, he was knocking everybody out. And Calzaghe gave an absolute boxing masterclass. Don't think I've seen so many punches being thrown in any round.
It was over 1,000, wasn't it?
He didn't stop throwing shots, did he, John? And there were times where really they should have pulled Lacy out because he took a hiding and he was never the same after that.
No, and you could argue that Joe maybe was never quite the same again, because after that, people looked at him up on a pedestal and said, yeah, this guy really is very, very special. And he went on and he defeated all that was put in front of him, which is all any fighter can do.
If you look at and the calibre of fight he was beaten as well, the Mikhail Kessler fight, that's another great victory for Calzaghe, because Kessler was he was a beast, but Calzaghe tamed him. There wasn't a style that he couldn't work out. So, like I say, his record speaks for itself. He stands alone, undefeated, 2-division world champion.
Now, talking of people who stand alone as champions, we're going to be looking again in a moment or two at Terence Crawford and that astonishing victory over Canelo. And we're going to be asking, just where does he rank alongside the all-time greats? That's all coming up on Fight Night here on talkSPORT with me, John Rawling, and Duke McKenzie. We're back shortly. It's fight night on talkSPORT. I'm John Rawling, Duke McKenzie alongside me, and there's been a victory parade in Omaha, Nebraska for you-know-who, Terence Crawford. And what a performance he gave in beating Canelo. And I think that particular state, they're still celebrating it because Duke, he's going to be going down now, surely, as one of the all-time greats of boxing.
He is going to be going down as an all-time great of boxing, John, and rightly so. When you become a world champion, it's a fantastic achievement. Of course it is. But when you can call yourself undisputed, not once, not twice, but 3 times, 3 separate weight divisions, that's class. Nobody else has done that, John. In the modern 4-belt era, no, it's never been done before. So that tells you just how good he is. Now, if you listen to some of his interviews after the fight, he wasn't being big-headed when he said it was an easy fight against Canelo. He just made it look easy. You know, his preparation for the fight, you can imagine the runs that he's done, the early morning runs that he's done, the amount of sparring that he's done, the amount of times that he's actually sat down, studied Canelo's style and looked at it and said to himself, I can beat that guy. Now, he's been saying it for years, apparently. And when you look at the fight and you say to yourself, you know, you had no cause to doubt him. He just made it look so effortless. I've been in that situation where you're preparing for a world title fight, right? And on paper, you're not supposed to win because everybody's saying the other guy is that good and he's going to beat you and he's going to trounce you. But you got your gut feeling says to you, you can beat that guy. So you're getting up at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning and doing your runs, and you're going to bed at 6 o'clock of an afternoon. Do you see what I mean? Because you know you're going to eat, sleep, walk, talk that guy. You leave no stone unturned. When you see, like I say, I don't want to use that word ease, but when you see how comfortable it was for Crawford, how we just totally outboxed Canelo, didn't trade off with him in the early rounds because he couldn't, because Canelo would have been too strong. He just systematically broke him down round after round after round, and by round 7, round 8, he was prepared to stand and trade with him. And when he traded off with him, he was just too quick, too fast, and hit too hard for Canelo. Canelo said after the fight he couldn't handle the southpaw style, the right-handed style, because Crawford stayed right-handed pretty much throughout the whole of the fight.
He just wastes so little, doesn't he? You know, I mean, I know we've said this before, haven't we, on talkSPORT when we've been talking about his performances in the past. But he wastes so little, does Terence Crawford, you know, and he's always seemingly fighting within himself, maybe for that reason to a degree. He's so technically outstanding.
Yeah, his punch economy is phenomenal. He didn't miss Canelo with hardly any shots whatsoever. And what was most impressive, I think, the 8th round when he actually stood and traded with Canelo, he was physically stronger than Canelo.
Yeah.
So there was no rehydration clause. He didn't stipulate that Canelo could only weigh so much going into that fight. He waived that because what he said was at the beginning of the fight, he wanted to beat Canelo at his best. And that's exactly what he done. He beat Canelo at his best. That performance Canelo put in against Crawford would have beaten, probably, in my opinion, would have probably beaten just about any other super middleweight on the planet.
Do you think he'd have stood comparison? I mean, I know it's always invidious, isn't it, to compare eras. Yeah. But, you know, when you look at the likes of Sugar Ray Leonard, could he have gone in and there and justified himself and looked brilliant against Leonard?
Well, we're talking about 2 modern-day greats that really, their careers will stand the test of time. They could have fought in any era. I think it's a little unfair to compare the two because, like I say, I know they've boxed at similar weights, welterweight. They both boxed at that weight. For me, I think Ray Leonard would have beaten him. I think he would have done. Ray Leonard was more spiteful. In his prime, was much more spiteful, just as skilled. I mean, you know, but on that flip side of the argument, well, then they couldn't switch from southpaw to orthodox, go from left-handed to right-handed so effortlessly. That might have given Crawford the edge. So it's a pick-em fight. That would have been a pick-em fight.
Fantastic, isn't it? You know, one day we'll be sitting up there, we've gone through the pearly gates, and they'll say, "Hey, John Duke, you've seen a bit over the years. What matchup would you like to see?" I think that would be one I'd quite like to see.
Or even Duran against Crawford, or Tommy Hearns against Crawford. And again, you know, styles make fights, and I wouldn't want to say any of those guys that I've mentioned would beat Crawford because he's just been an outstanding champion of this modern four-belt era?
Well, we're going to be talking something slightly different after the hour because we're going to be joined by a live guest, Mark Nielsen, who's trying to make inroads as a promoter. He's had a couple of big promotions down at York Hall over the last couple of days, and he's going to be telling us how it's been going for him. And there's more boxing besides coming up thereafter. Going to be speaking to George Glinsky about some of the... I'm sorry, I'm just being told something. I couldn't hear that. Carry on. Here we are. I'm being told that we've got live guests joining us from the United States, YouTube channel Ring Champs with Ak and Barak, and they're both with us now. Well, we've been waxing fairly eloquently about the brilliance of Terence Crawford. You've been over there in Omaha. How's Nebraska reacted to him?
Well, first off, thank you for having us. He's an icon in this city. We were at the parade with him. A sea of people, I don't know, maybe 100,000 people came out for Bud Crawford today. And we're actually in a steakhouse right now. It's called Pivot Prime or something. That's hence why you see steaks behind us, because they allowed us to use their private room here to get on with you guys. We've been in Omaha before, but this experience has been special. And credit to what Terence has done in this city.
I don't know if you guys remember the movie Rocky where he was beating the beef like that. Well, that's what we do in between fights.
They've finally, I think, if there was any lingering doubt about the brilliance of Terence Crawford, I think everybody's woken up to him now, haven't they, guys?
100%. After the Spence win, he was deemed great, but we couldn't put that all-time great on his name because we needed another person. We needed a person who's already a legend, already solidified, and literally there's only one person like that in boxing, and it was Canelo. Moving up 2 weight classes, really 3, because he only had 1 fight at 154. So after this fight right now, he's cemented in probably top 5 on everybody's list.
And unfortunately, the flip side to that is in boxing, boxing fans are so fickle, they're never happy. So, to your point, he solidified it even with the Spence fight for me, but people will still find a problem. They'll still complain. They'll still want him to go up. They'll want him to fight Tyson Fury in order to prove that he's great.
Well, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was great against Spence, and he was terrific again the other night. Shakur and Gervonta, they've had a bit of a back and forth on social media this week.
Yes, Shakur and Tank. Oh my gosh. The only thing I don't like about that is that normally when we see the back and forth going on Twitter, oh, I make more money than you, you're scared to fight me, you're ducking me. It usually ends up in the 2 fighting. But I just don't think Tank has the same desire to fight Shakur that Shakur has to fight Tank.
And he's projecting that on social media. And when he's being interviewed, he has this aura about him where, look, I'm here to make